Well, D.C. has been at a standstill for 41 days. The longest government shutdown in U.S. history is finally seeing light at the end of the tunnel. Late Monday, the Senate passed a stopgap bill in a 60-40 vote to reopen the government through January 30 of next year. A deal that includes full-year funding for Veterans Affairs, agriculture, and military construction. 8 Democrats voted with leadership. They broke with their Democratic leadership to join Republicans, marking a major setback for Chuck Schumer's efforts to keep pressure on the White House. The deal heads to the House next, where a vote could come by Wednesday. The package restores back pay for federal workers and unfreezes essential operations, but omits the Democrats' top demand, an extension of Obamacare subsidies set to expire this year. That vote will come separately in December. For now, travelers will see some relief after the FAA's 10% cut in flights at 40 major airports due to staff shortages over the weekend resumes, and the politics are shifting. For weeks, Democrats blamed Republicans for the shutdown. But a new report shows that a group of moderate Democrats was ready to reopen weeks ago until Schumer intervened, undercutting the main Democratic narrative that the GOP was solely responsible for this standstill. If true, it means the delay was as much about politics as policy. Nevertheless, the left has continued employing the tactic of repeat the lie long enough and it becomes true. That being that Republicans shut the government down and are now dragging the Democrats who put politics aside to work with Republicans on reopening. Listen.
7 Democratic senators and voted with their Republican counterparts to end the shutdown and reopen the government. And did they get their extended health care subsidies?
Democrats wanted the deal to include extending subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. Instead, they got a promise to vote on it at a later date.
I cannot believe it!
Our next guest served as chief of staff for multiple members of Congress, helped direct state legislative operations in Colorado, and he's seen a few of these shutdowns in his day. He's now president of the conservative caucus. Jim Pfaff joins us now. Jim, thank you so much.
Good to see you, Chanel.
This is such a defeat for Democrats in the sense that Democrats are blaming Schumer and saying, look, we just went through 41 days of this shutdown and you got nothing, literally nothing from the time that we started the shutdown to the time that we ended. And that's not how negotiations should work. At least that's what Democrats are saying.
Well, you know, having gone through 2 of these shutdowns when I was working on Capitol Hill, the most recent 2, I guess, in a sense, is pleasing that the bad deal that was made politically for one side or the other leans more on the Democrat side this time than on ours after the failed Boehner speakership and the failed Paul Ryan speakership. But that said, there are a lot of challenges ahead. This vote on Obamacare actually gives an opportunity for Republicans, if they're willing to take it, to radically transform what is, in effect, government-run health care in this country. There's maybe 5%, probably less, of our healthcare economy that is not controlled or run by the government. And we're in an open enrollment period right now.
Right.
And if you do not buy something on healthcare.gov directly, then the plan you buy outside of it still must comply to federal rules. So this will be a good time to get that situation fixed if Republicans are willing to do it, because it's not just those subsidies that and the loss of them that could maybe be challenging for a few people. It's that the whole system's so expensive because of government input.
And there's no shortage of stories of everyday Americans saying, look at how much my health care is because of Obamacare. Despite Democrats saying this is all about affordability, it's anything but affordable. And for years, I think Republicans really just accepted it as it's here to stay. But are you saying there actually is a pathway to opening all this up to the free market?
There is, if Republicans are willing to take it, and that's the real challenge. So just to set that up real quick, let's keep in mind that Republicans did win this politically, but 2026 is not going to be very good for them if there's not a solid economic change. And Donald Trump, who I think is going to do so, needs to totally focus on the economy. He's had great wins internationally. But as to health care, there is a chance to do things like Andy Biggs introduced a bill, Congressman Andy Biggs from Arizona introduced a bill in the beginning of the year that would totally put us back at the situation we were prior to Obamacare, at least legislatively. That actually would be a vast improvement over what we have now. I remember in 2014, I think it was, I was sitting just outside the Capitol with a friend of mine eating, and there were a couple young Democrat staffers that were praising how good Obamacare was. This is 2014, and I was mentioning to them, you don't understand. For a family of four, prior to that Obamacare, I had a $350 deductible, and I was maybe paying somewhere in the area of $250 to $300 or so for a family of four. Today, if you want that kind of coverage on the marketplace, you're going to be paying at least 3, maybe 4 times that. And your deductible is going to be minimum $5,000, probably more like $10,000. And so you're paying for more and getting less.
Crazy.
That needs to change. And Republicans could win big if they did it.
But somehow it seems like there's a messaging discrepancy here, because the Republicans have been very bad about being able to convince the American public that there is, in fact, a cheaper market-based alternative to this. I don't see a message out of Republicans that seems to have caught fire, that has gotten legs, if you will, with the American voter.
Yeah, because they're scared to death to change back, one. Two, some of them really are like the Bill Cassidys of the world. Bill Cassidy, the Louisiana senator, who's totally bought by all the lobbying groups that allow the insurance companies and the hospitals to make so much money. They're unwilling to put this into the free market and make hospitals and insurance companies compete for the market. Because here's the problem. The way that the Obamacare works right now, there is a certain set of plans that have to meet a certain set of guidelines, none of which works for everybody in the market. If you brought this wide open, you'd have young people taking plans with less coverage just to take care of the things that they think are most urgent to them. You'd have families undertaking a certain approach. You'd have retired people taking a different approach. And then you'd have some people in every age category who wanted to opt out and just say, listen, I just want to be able to go to the doctor anytime I want to. I don't need all this other coverage. Maybe whenever even the wealthy who can take care of themselves. So there's no options out there, and it makes it, when you have a one-size-fits-all approach like we do right now, it becomes expensive for everybody.
And Jim, you mentioned something that caught my attention. Not that it's a new topic, but it just feels like it feels so wrong that if you're a lawmaker and you're taking money from an interested industry, that you're also helping draft laws in that industry. It feels like we kind of need some guardrails there.
Without a doubt. And my friend Peter Schweitzer wrote a great book about this many years ago, Throw Them All Out, where he did chronicle a whole lot of what this money connection is. You know, Bill Cassidy's makes enough money on his own, but he certainly would love to have a nice lobbying job in the industry, being a doctor, someone that has a degree as a doctor. And that is a very real problem. There's so much of this gets twisted because of that incentive. There are other incentives too. It's not only that. But what really becomes a problem is that you have members of Congress who have ambitions outside of Congress that largely, maybe roughly a third of them by the numbers, align with going into lobbying afterwards. So they try to take care of their interests that way when they end up leaving the Hill.
It's such a system, isn't it? And yes, Schweitzer has been on this from the very beginning. Jim Pfaff, a pleasure as always to have you on. Thank you for that layout.
Thank you. So great to see you, Chanel. We'll talk soon.
Stay tuned. Argentina scrambles Navy patrols to stop Chinese trawlers. Meanwhile, over in Japan, they're having to react to Chinese diplomats threatening the prime minister. China expert Gordon Chang puts it in perspective. We'll be right back.